Welcome to today's episode of The Juice. I'm Drew McDougall, and we have a great show for you today. In today's segment of the pop culture section, I will begin by talking about the hit show Selling Sunset on Netflix. Selling Sunset is a reality TV show based about real estate agents trying to sell mega mansions on the Beverly Hills area in Los Angeles. I'm surprised they're able to make an entire television series based off of selling real estate, which is probably why they dive into the relations between all the real estate agents and cast members. And I usually just watch the show in the morning when I'm eating cereal. For today's music section, I found a music video entitled "The Comet is Coming" by Summon the Fire. I fell in love with this music video. The avant-garde nature of the music video is a lot of expressionism and postmodernism go into it, and it's very abstract, and the abstractions drives the video. The music is jazz, and I think, as you may know, I'm a huge jazz fan, and I really enjoy this music video and the songs. I found the visuals to be extremely well done, and the sort of animation, sort of speckly, it feels like it's shot on 16mm while simultaneously being animated and also being a live show. So, and it gives the band members just this sort of glowing aura and makes them appear to be just music creation, just vibing, just music. It's very avant-garde. Reminds me a lot of experimental film. And honestly, this style of visuals is probably my favorite. You rarely see that, and you usually only see it in short art films or music videos. You rarely see an entire movie or an entire television show done with visuals like that, which I could imagine an entire movie or an entire television series being really tough to do that for, which is why you usually only see it in like 2 or 3 minute films. However, I would be interested in exploring an entire film that's like that. Anyway, it's definitely the best music video I think I've ever seen. Sorry to any other music videos. But that's just because I'm a huge avant-garde jazz person, and the visuals of this video is very avant-garde. Absolutely love it. I don't think I can think of a better music video style for this song, especially since it's mostly just instrumental. There's no singing, but it jams like a jazz band would jam. In this section of the visual arts, I chose to do a segment on the artist called I Am Detour. His real name is Thomas Evans, and he is a visual artist and a street artist. I found several of his murals in Denver, and I actually had a friend who tipped me off to his work. Sort of like last week's episode with Austin's The Art. His stylistic approach is slightly different. He's less on Dadaism. I would say the key to Detour's success has a lot to do with his lighting approaches and his ability to make photorealistic paintings out of a vast majority of colors, and his advanced use of lighting really makes him a quality artist. He has a lot of murals around town. I will actually go out into the field and show you some of his work. So this mural is by Thomas Evans. He is known for using a very vast color palette. Like if you notice, this whole thing is like red, magenta, purple, teal, orange, yellow, green, blue, white, and orange, and green. But he uses very sophisticated lighting techniques to make the person appear real. This is one of the only pieces that I've been able to locate. He's a tough artist to track down. And I believe his studio is just around the corner, so that's what leads me to believe this is his piece. This piece is very colorful, and I love the lighting techniques that he uses. And I love the abstract backgrounds. This mural is by Detour. It's a tribute to George Floyd, the man who was killed by police. This is the tribute Thomas Evans painted for him. I like the contrast between colors in black and white. Very dramatic, going right across the face. And the flowers on the side, and the two pieces of wood. I was going to say, you can definitely tell it's the same artist because of the coloring, the sophisticated lighting of his face, and this sophisticated color, the shading on the black and white part. This mural is very well done. And I believe this painting is a good message. And it's a memoriam of George Floyd, who died at the hands of a police officer who was asking to get off his neck. I'm sure you guys have all heard that story by now. So in today's section for sustainability, I was going to show you this video I stumbled across of a hydrogen-powered flying car. Looked like a concept. Looked like they also had a real working version of it. I think hydrogen is a great fuel source, and I think manufacturers should consider it as a viable option. As you can see, this looks like the working model or some sort of prototype. Hydrogen fuel cell has been one of my all-time favorite concepts for achieving zero emissions and sustainability. Toyota actually already has a working hydrogen car, I believe most of them only exist in California. California has plenty of hydrogen fueling stations, and that is one of the advantages it has over the Tesla as far as zero emission vehicles go. Hydrogen, just like a gasoline or diesel, you go up to a fueling station and it takes about 5 or 10 minutes to fuel up. Fortunately, Tesla takes about 15 to 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, which is really where the Teslas lose people's interest. Is it really going to take me an hour to fuel up and get a charge? And that's where they lose a little bit of feasibility. If they could advance the technology so that you could charge your entire vehicle in 5 to 10 minutes, that would be an impressive feat, and I'm sure they could achieve it. I think Tesla seem to be taking the lead as far as zero emissions vehicles go, and I'm really stoked for them and Elon Musk. I'm sure many of you know Elon Musk. He's a champion in the tech world and the green movement, and he's one of my all-time favorite people. He's definitely a hero of mine, and I definitely assume a lot of you probably see him as a hero as well. He seems to be one of the only people that is taking the zero emissions concept to another level. Anyway, back to Toyota's hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. I think this is a very viable solution and maybe one of Tesla's biggest competitors at the moment doing hydrogen. I think hydrogen is very powerful and it has zero emissions, which is exactly what we look for in sustainable motor vehicles. I can't wait for the day where we don't have to go in and get emissions tested and sit there and have them stamp your vehicle, and if your vehicle is too old and doesn't work, doesn't pass emissions, then you have to go get a new one. How awful and terrible, and why do they even design those vehicles in the first place if they're not going to be able to be allowed on the road? I think the government should supplement zero emission vehicles and should be encouraged to purchase them. I don't think they should be nearly as expensive as they are, and I think a lot of the automakers should be pushing for them right now. However, our government seems to be choked out by big oil, and so do our politicians, and so do our manufacturers. And all of this is absolutely terrifying and choking us all out slowly, one by one. Now here's the thing, if you have a gasoline vehicle, you've seen people commit suicide by running their vehicles in the garage and just simply falling asleep. That is exactly what we don't want. If you have a zero emissions vehicle, you couldn't even do that. And just the fact that you can't even do that means that as a society where we all sit in each other's breathing air and have to breathe each other's emissions, I think is very acceptable to go zero emissions. I think hydrogen is a good fuel source and a viable solution and may take over electric. However, production of hydrogen is kind of a costly manner, and it has certain inefficiencies because it takes a lot of energy to create the hydrogen. I'm also going to talk to you guys about terrible people and criminality and immoralness. These are huge things. I'm not sure if you realize, but we have the church, dedicated to immorality and good people. We have the government, which is dedicated to implementing laws and morality and to keep people from being terrible. And they have academia, which we all learn to be good people and to have morals. And then we have jail to keep people being moral and good. And we have different countries, that are all have different ideas of morality. So really, it's a huge thing that affects pretty much everyone on this planet in all aspects of life. I remember I had a professor explain this to me one time about how to be moral. Suppose you are trying to get lunch with a friend and you say, hey, let's meet at a cafe tomorrow at noon. And your friend is like, yeah, okay, let's meet at this cafe tomorrow at noon. And if there is a 50% chance that you're not going to be able to make it tomorrow at the cafe at noon for your friend, you should cancel. Be like, no, that's not a good time for me. Or I'm busy. Or I don't like that cafe. Or I don't like you as a friend. Or my car's broken and I can't get there. Or I'm going to be on vacation. Or I have to work. Or I'm getting lunch with another friend. Or I have to attend a funeral. Or I have to attend a book signing. I don't know. There's 1.5 million reasons why your friend might not go to lunch with you tomorrow at noon. And to be moral. So in the moment, and if there's more than a 50% chance that you're not going to attend, but you still promise your friend that you're going to go anyway. So assume you go, like, yeah, I'll be there tomorrow at noon at this cafe. So you go, and suppose you meet up. That's great. You were moral. You stuck with your word. You told him that you would be there. You didn't ditch your friend. That's great. Now suppose you made plans and you knew you weren't going to attend, but you still made plans anyway because you didn't want to sound like you weren't interested in getting lunch. So let's say your friend or you show up at the cafe tomorrow at noon and your buddy isn't there. Well, gee, where are they? Are they not there because they don't like you, because they don't like the cafe, because they don't have any money, because they're working, because they had other plans, or they ditched you to hang with their other friend at a different cafe, or they're just sleeping in, or they took a random trip to Morocco in that time period? Who knows? And because they promised you that they were going to be there, you're likely to assume that some sort of emergency happened. Like maybe they're on their way to the cafe and they got struck by a car, or they got pulled over by the police. There's just a whole allotment of things surrounding sticking to your word. And that's just getting lunch with your friend. That's kind of a light scenario. Another big factor that kind of rolls into this is divorce. I'm not exactly sure why there's been huge influxes in divorce rates, but that's terrible. That's not good. You just literally made a huge vow in front of all of your family and in front of all of this other person's family to stick with them and to pretty much stay with them until death. I mean, you'd have to be a really bad person to get a divorce after you do that. You know what I mean? It's just completely immoral. And it kind of depends on when or after, because if you get married, then all of a sudden get cold feet immediately after, okay. Or maybe you were forced into it, shotgun style, and they're just like being incredibly aggressive to you and making you go through with this marriage and making you say you need to do it. And in that case, suppose you have a right to back out because you were forced into it, kind of against your consent. So suppose that's maybe a reason, but if you openly promise and consent to it and then back out, it kind of depends. If you have kids, if you're planning it, like I said, like in the lunch situation, like at the time that they ask you and you say, and you're more than 50% chance that you're going to back out, you should just say no, straight up. Or like, maybe let's hold off. I don't know. You know what I mean? But if you're too wimpy to say no straight up to that person right off the bat, you're getting yourself into it yourself. And you just don't have enough moral backbone or have your heart and your own interests to stand up for what you want or your own life. And it's weird. Like I said, divorce rates are up. You know what I mean? That's not just like one person. That's like a societal thing. That's like a whole society of people getting divorced. And that's where it really starts to get out of hand, like a wild forest fire burning up an entire forest. Because that's the thing about society. Like I said, if you don't count on your word with your friend getting lunch, and you just like dip out and don't ghost them hard, they're like, okay, that was weird. Like I said, they might not get lunch with another friend. And that affects other people. That might affect your future friendship with them. Like, okay, you dipped out, you didn't get lunch with them. Were you ever planning on getting lunch with them ever again? If there's like a 10% chance of error, like you actually meant to go get lunch with that person, you had the money, you had the time off, you were going to show up, but your car broke down on the way over, and you're late. Okay. That's excusable. That's a 10% chance of error. You did not think your car was going to break down on your way over. You can formally apologize. You can reschedule. You can get lunch. It's not the end of the world. But if you just straight up dip and just ghost them and like, yeah, I'm not, and like purposely ignore them and just make them go to this place and they spend all this time going to this place and getting lunch by themselves, that's terrible. Same thing with marriage. It's just slightly bigger and slightly longer consequences. It's like getting lunch with them every single day for the rest of their life. So it's just like exaggerated hugely. And that's what I mean. So if you kind of notice, like if one of your friends gets married and then you're like, okay, now all my friends are married, I need to get married. So then you go get married and then all of a sudden that one friend is like, okay, I'm getting divorced. And then all of your other friends start to get divorced. Like, are you just following social trends? Are you just going to get divorced because your friend got divorced too? Or are you actually gonna maintain your word and stick with this person? You know what I mean? And that's just where it's like everyone needs to have their own moral backbone. You can't just be some floppy fish, some soft spaghetti noodle with every other person and be completely mindless and at the discretion of your one friend who got married and then got divorced, and then you just follow along like some mindless follower. So that's what I mean. Terrible people. Because that hurts. Not only hurts you, but it hurts the other person. And it hurts everyone surrounding you as well. Like I said, kind of like a forest fire. Like one person can pretty much start an entire forest fire, and it can affect hundreds, if not thousands of people, including other living animals. So I get it. You understand where the government starts to implement policies and make you consent and teaches you these laws, saying these are the laws, do not break these laws if you want to live in this society. Otherwise we have consequences, and those consequences are usually enforced with criminal punishment and jail time. Harsh standing, but starting a forest fire is harsh. So, and ruining an entire society by being just kind of an asshole is kind of harsh. So, it's not just one person that's involved in all of this. It's everyone. And everyone pretty much has to follow the same rules if we are going to cooperate and make things happen. So, those are just my thoughts. And I hope you enjoyed this segment of At the Park.